I was never addicted to one thing. I was addicted to doing things that kept me away from loving myself, something along those lines, right? That I didn't realize that I was actually addicted to just whatever sort of filled up that hole that my self-love was supposed to fill. That's what I would strive for. That's what I would try to, gather, and, basically became addicted to pleasure. But I think it's really different for different people. I think some people, right, they could have a disease, they could have a very serious mental illness or whatnot. But for me personally, I think my lack of self-love transformed into an abuse of drugs that easily could have ended my life very early.
Okay. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so what I didn't quite realize until I actually stopped was that I was pretty sad my whole life. It just didn't really, I think I so quickly would cover up that sadness with either busying myself with TV or the internet, later on with with friends or girlfriends, or, drinking, smoking weed, doing different types of drugs. The main one I did was cocaine when I was in college. That when I would run to these things, one, I didn't realize why I was running, that I was even running, and it would so quickly cover it up. And then I thought I was having fun when really it was just, consuming as much pleasure as possible. And to me that, it hid that sadness away. I didn't really see it. And it wasn't until, so I think I started doing drugs when I was about 18, 19, and it really quickly became very serious. I was, partying way too much from Wednesday to Monday, especially in that time period when I was in college, just really consuming as much as possible. And it got to a point where I think a year and a half after I graduated, I reached a breaking point the summer of 2011, where I had done a bunch of drugs, and it was never one particular thing. I think the cocaine was the drug of choice in particular, but it got to a point this one night where I used so much that the next morning when I woke up, I lit a joint. And the moment I lit that joint, I felt like it was that one little extra thing that my body just, it's a massive mountain that created that huge snowball effect. And I could feel all the drugs just surging through my body, and my heart just started freaking out. Later, when I talked to a doctor, she explained it to me in scientific terms, but she was like, yeah, it was basically a very mild form of heart attack. And I was on the floor, basically willing myself to stay alive, because I was I feel like I'm dying. I literally was on the floor crying and just feeling like this was it. I messed up my chance. I messed up my chance at life. My mother's gonna be so upset. Don't even call the ambulance. Let me just really trying to, probably, stupidly trying to fix it on my own by just laying on the floor and staying calm, or as calm as I could, because I was a mess. For about 2.5 hours, I just stayed on that floor. And the moment when I realized that it was subsiding, that my heart started gaining some form of regularity again, I just got up and I grabbed that last bag of cocaine that I had, flushed it down the toilet, and I was like, that's it, I'm done. I'm not trying to die like this. And I wrote another piece about this, that those moments when we hit rock bottom, especially for me, it was in that moment when I hit rock bottom that I could see who I wanted to be. I didn't have a clear idea. I didn't know I wanted to be a writer or anything like that, but I just knew that I wanted to be someone that would make my mother happy, that would make that would make me feel like I actually lived a life that was worth living, that I didn't waste my time here on earth. And when that all clicked, I knew the first thing was I need to get in touch with my body. I started going to the gym again. Hadn't been to the gym in 5 years, because I was incredibly unhealthy at the time. So overweight, so miserable, so depressed. So I started going to the gym. That was the time when superfoods first became popular. I bought some spirulina, bought some barley grass, started taking in these high nutritional foods, and started just getting fitter. And about a year after that was when I did my first Vipassana course. And that's when the real healing started happening. I almost I felt like I was getting myself stronger and just kind of out of, sheer will, decided to stop doing the really hard drugs. I remember I kept smoking weed and kept drinking alcohol at smaller doses for a while. But it took a lot of my will to not do the hard drugs, to not do, the ecstasy, the cocaine, and all that stuff again. But when I started meditating Vipassana, that craving to actually do those things started going away. And, now, like, it's just like, it's not even, a friend of mine actually asked me the other day, because now I don't drink alcohol. I haven't taken a single intoxicant for, like, I don't really keep count, but I think it's like a little over 4 years. And a friend asked me that, you don't miss it? And I'm like, nah, dude, I honestly can't say that I do. Like, it's literally whatever it was that wanted it does not exist in me any longer, because I just kept, going back in there, finding, trying to find what it was, that anxiety, that depression, that sadness, and, just doing the work to release that stuff, to actually let it go. And don't get me wrong, to this day, I still feel anxiety, I still feel sadness, but the thing is that it's nowhere to the same intensity as it was before. Like, before, it used to be such a strong sadness that, it would control my actions. But now I would feel it, and I'm like, oh, right, I feel sad now. Let me just, watch how I live today, and just be mindful that it'll pass.